Howdy everyone, welcome back to Wobble and Jaw Sports. If you're new around here, I hope I can get you to consider to like the content and subscribe to the channel. But if you are a regular around these here parts, thank you very much for the continuous support. This is the Warriors 2024 fixture. Their preseason challenge, they do not leave their own country. I wish I was saying that a little bit more over the past 18 months. Their first preseason challenge is on Sunday at Apollo Project Stadium in Christchurch. They host the West Tigers. On the Saturday, 1 week later, they are in front of the Go Media Stadium fans and they host the Dolphins. The Tigers and the Dolphins are what lying in wait for the New Zealand Warriors in the preseason challenge. Moving into the regular season now for the Warriors, and I look at fixtures in 5 blocks, and the way that they start their season is as follows. Round number 1, Friday 6 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, Warriors versus the Sharks. Friday night footy from Go Media Stadium. That is a fantastic way to kickstart Friday night footy. 1 week later, round number 2, Saturday night football emanates from Amy Park, the Storm versus the Warriors. There's a little bit more spice to this matchup because, as we'll get into in a little bit, these guys aren't going head to head on Anzac Day anymore. There's a little bit of spice there nowadays. In round number 3, they're back over in New Zealand for back-to-back home games, but for one of them, the first one being in round 3, they host the Canberra Raiders from Christchurch, again at Apollo Projects Stadium. That is on the Friday night, 6 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Round number 4, there's a long 8-day break between games for the Warriors until they host the Newcastle Knights on Easter Sunday, the 31st of March, and that is the Channel 9 game as well, just quietly. Warriors versus Knights. And to round out their first section for 2024, they travel to Accor Stadium to take on the South Sydney Rabbitohs Saturday, 3 p.m. I, for some reason or another, am just feeling the vibe, feeling it in my bones that is just going to be a madhouse blockbuster. That is just going to be a massive game. So the first 5 weeks for the New Zealand Warriors, they are taking on, besides the South Sydney Rabbitohs, they are taking on 4 of the teams that finished inside of the top 8 from 2023. South Sydney Rabbitohs, they are tipped to be one of the heavyweights in 2024. They have 3 home games in New Zealand, 1 trip to Sydney and 1 trip to Melbourne, for a team that I think is going to go deep in finals football this season. Look, it's definitely doable, but is it going to be the same old Warriors? Are we going to be let down by them? And we're going to find out if we're going to be let down by them pretty early on, because as far as strength of opposition goes, yeah, it's up there. It's not the hardest, but it's up there, and they do have the luxury, if you will, of having 3 home games inside the first 5 weeks. 5 home games if you include the preseason challenge inside the first 7 weeks of the season. Section 2, they are back at Go Media Stadium, Saturday 3 p.m. They host the Manly Sea Eagles, and they have a notoriously hard time of trying to defeat Manly. Round number 7, they're on the road at Wynn Stadium in Wollongong to take on the St George Illawarra Dragons, Friday 6 p.m. Round number 8, they play on Thursday, a incredibly rare Thursday game in New Zealand at Go Media Stadium. But this is a very special occasion. This will be the Warriors' first ever Anzac Day game, and they will be hosting the Gold Coast Titans. Will this become a new annual traditional Anzac fixture between the Warriors and Titans, or is it just going to be now forevermore a Warriors exclusive game, and whoever is lucky enough to be drawn to select to fight them that day will be lucky enough to do so? But I feel like that this is the start of the Warriors never leaving New Zealand again on Anzac Day. And again, that is 2 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time here in Australia. Round 8 on the Thursday. Round number 9, they're away to Newcastle, Sunday 2 p.m. 7 days later, they're still on the road, so it's back-to-back weeks on the road. Round 9 in Newcastle. Round 10, a trip to Allianz Stadium. And they put in a really good effort last time they played at Allianz Stadium. They were unlucky on that occasion. So far as strength of schedule goes, from round number 6 through to round number 10, they could win every single game. Like everybody else, Section 3, it starts at Magic Round, and the Warriors, they have a rematch of last year's Magic Round game. It was arguably the game of the weekend last season. It is the Warriors versus the Panthers, Sunday, 1:50 p.m. at Suncorp Stadium. Now that is a home game for the Warriors. Their next game in round 12 is a home game. So while technically they've got back-to-back home games, they're actually on the road for 3 straight weeks, from round 9 through to round 11, and then obviously back home to New Zealand. So that's a lot of zigzagging for the Warriors in the month of May. So round number 12, they're back at home on a Sunday, Channel 9 game against the Dolphins at Go Media Stadium. Then they have a bye. I think that comes at a really sweet time for the Warriors. In round number 13, their first bye. In round number 14, they have the big trip to North Queensland to take on the Cowboys at QCB Stadium, Saturday, 5:30 p.m. And a game that I'm really looking forward to, man. It's going to be the sequel to it too. Round 15, Saturday, 5:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. They host the Melbourne Storm. Both these games, I'm anticipating fireworks. Yeah, they got the Panthers and the Storm, a trip to North Queensland. You'd hope that they, at the very least go 2-2. But if they go 3-1, I should say, I think you really do start to believe that they will finish top 6 at the very least. Section number 4, it's like a home away from home to start things off. They are at the Gold Coast Cbus Super Stadium, Saturday, 3 p.m. to take on the Titans, and we know how heavily the Warriors fans come out up there at the Gold Coast. Round number 17, they host the Brisbane Broncos, Saturday, 3 p.m. Australian time. Round number 18, once again, they play on a Saturday. It is at 3 p.m. as well, so that is the time slot if you are a New Zealand Warriors fan living in Australia. Round number 19, they have their second bye, and then on Friday night football, a Channel 9 Friday night football game against the Canberra Raiders at GIO Stadium. They don't fear that joint, especially after absolutely embarrassing the club on Jared Croker's 300th game. So they got the Titans, the Broncos, the Bulldogs, and the Raiders. They could win every single game, and I must also point out, they have a draw where they could legitimately win every single game between the month of June and July because of State of Origin. They're not going to have any representatives. From the top of my head, they're not going to have any Origin representatives. There are games where they take on the Broncos, the Titans, the Storm, North Queensland, and depending on whether or not players get rested, the Warriors could be completely at full strength coming up against a side who are going to only be half strength at the very least, maybe 3/4 strength. So they got a pretty decent run against teams that will be affected by Origin throughout those months. So again, phase number 4 for the Warriors, it could garner themselves quite a number of points. If the Warriors are to make the top 4 or even just make the top 8, this is how their run to the finals looks from round 21 through to round 27. Well, it starts off with back-to-back home games. Round 21, they host the Tigers on Friday night footy, 6 p.m. 7 days later, the exact same time slot, they host the Parramatta Eels, and then they have a long 8-day break between games. They travel to Suncorp Stadium to take on the Dolphins, Sunday 2 p.m, and then it is a very short turnaround from there. They take on the Sea Eagles at 4 Pines Park Friday, 6 p.m. So their run to the finals is back-to-back home games, but then it's back-to-back away games with a very short turnaround thrown in there in between both of the away games. Round number 25, they're back at home at Go Media Stadium. They host the Bulldogs Friday, 6 p.m. Australian time. That is their final home game of the regular season. In round number 26, their final away game, they're at Shark Park. Saturday, 7:30 p.m, one of those Channel 9 Saturday night games in the run to the finals. And that's their final game to really try and make some damage, do some damage. Because round 27, they're the team that have been allocated a bye. You can look at it as yin, or you can look at it as yang. You can look at it as a positive or a negative. You do get those 2 competition points, don't you? I mean, you do probably lean on the side that it is positive, that you do get those automatic competition points. But yeah, it's very interesting when a team does get the bye in the final round of the regular season, in my opinion. And as far as strength of opposition goes, man, that run to the finals, besides a trip to Shark Park and that back-to-back away trip, I would say 3 out of those final 6 matches are definitely tricky. I would say that they're more than likely going to win 4 of them. I would say that they're going to go. I would say that they're going to go 4-2 in that run to the finals. They might have a bit of a time against the Sharks at Shark Park, and I just feel like maybe one of those 2 away games against either the Dolphins or the Sea Eagles, they might slip up. But they're very capable of defeating. If the Warriors of last season rock up, they're incredibly capable of defeating those 2 in Dolphins and Manly in back-to-back weeks, but also going through that run to the finals completely undefeated as well. I don't think that is the toughest draw I've seen. Don't think it's quite the easiest as well. That start to the year for the Warriors, in particularly the first 6 rounds of the competition, and then a little sprinkling in the 3rd section where they take on the Panthers and the Storm. Yeah, that's not too bad of a draw for the New Zealand Warriors, but I wish I could say that there are a few more teams taking home games to New Zealand, because I mean, I haven't forgotten what the Warriors have done, and neither of the fans and neither of the Warriors, you know, in a sanctum. They haven't forgotten what they did for the NRL, and it sucks, really. I think maybe from next season people are going to start to forget and not care, but it does suck that almost nobody except the West Tigers have offered up to sacrifice a home game for the New Zealand Warriors. It's a shame, especially around Anzac Day as well, which is a completely different video, a different topic, point of discussion all together for a different video. Thank you very much for your continued support, guys, and I'll see you in the next Overlooking Fixture episode. Thank you, take care, adios.